Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Beat Review livestream. Hello and welcome. Nice to have you here. Nice to be here again. And I'm just ready for another episode. Another session of listening to beats and giving them somewhat of a review whenever possible. That's what we're doing today. That's what we're here for. Cool. So, if this is your first time here ever, which I kind of doubt, but if it is, just wanted to let you know. My name is Accurate Beats. I'm this beatmaker guy who makes music myself, and this is my bi-weekly live show where we listen to beats from you guys. So this stream is not about me, it's about you and your music and your beats, and I'm just here to enjoy them and as far as humanly possible, trying to have a few opinions and some thoughts and some stuff about the production we hear, and, give them a little bit of feedback, talking about what could be improved, what's really cool about them, and whatever. And that goes for me as well as you guys in the chat room. So please help each other out, give each other tips and tricks, point out what's really good about something, point out what could be improved. It's not a competition, it's not something serious. It's just a bunch of geeks and dirtbags who wants to make beats and wants other people to hear them and, leaving feedback and stuff like that. So we call this concept beat review. And if you want to be a part of this, you're more than welcome to be so. In that case, we have an email address up here. Again, impossible to point at something up here. That's not actually here, but somewhere here. beatreview@accuratebeats.com. Just send me an email with, a file, an audio file of some music you've made, or maybe a link to a file that I can download. I'm not following SoundCloud, YouTube, Bandcamp, external links to players. I want the actual file because I want to be able to play it back in my media player on my actual computer. If you want to be a part of this, please send me your stuff. Again, beatreview@accuratebeats.com. That's me. That's this show. That's this concept and the email. So now, when that's all said and done, we've done all the housekeeping. Hello, guys. The chat room is here. We have a few people watching already, which is never a bad thing and always a great thing. We are a bunch of beat nerds. That's what we are. And we're doing this beat review live stream over here every other week. That needs to be pointed out. That's gonna change. It's gonna change, but for now, it's every other week. So, Monday this time around, right now. I'm based in Sweden, so right here, right now, it's 8 o'clock at night, which is 8 p.m., right? We have Chris52 in the house, as always. Keto Beats, Symphonic. Salberts actually wrote me earlier today, as he always does. Salberts has been struggling with inspiration lately. He wants to submit beats here and he wants to be a part of it, but he just, for some reason, he's not able to do something. So, if you want to, please give Salberts a little bit of encouragement in the chat room. Not forcefully, if the inspiration doesn't come, it doesn't come, and that's just what it is. But we would want him to be a part of this, We've had him on before, and it's always good stuff, so help him to get out of this beat block, or whatever people call it these days. We have Wilden, we have Icon74, we have Made So Well, Lone Beats, Mosphere, Atomonos, J to the K. We have a lot of people we know since before. HBR36 in the house. RA Sharpness, that's good. JRZ Beats says, been a minute since I've been here. Okay, cool. But you are more than welcome to come back and be back here. We do appreciate that. And, submit a beat or just help us out giving feedback to the stuff we're about to hear. Because I think it's time for me to open up the inbox, and yep, we do have a few beats. The beats are coming in. And just to make sure again, I am who I am and I do what I do, which most of you kind of know something about. But I'm not a stranger to having anything else coming in. You know, it doesn't have to be hip-hop beats. It doesn't need to be lo-fi, boom bap, whatever. Send me a rock track, something classical, trap beats, whatever you want. I know my own genre the best, by far. But sometimes we had some stuff like, you know, film music. We had some techno stuff or rave or whatever people call it these days, EDM, I don't know. And it's always a cool thing to have a little bit of variety. It's going to be a lot of hip-hop. It's going to be a lot of beats made on SP404s and whatever. But it's always good to have something outside of that range too, just because. Yeah, it's good to see you guys actually addressing Salberts because he needs the encouragement. And, you know, we also want to have a really low threshold here. You could send me anything. Could be just a 4-bar loop without a bass line or whatever. Just send it over and mention in the email that this is just an idea I want a little bit of feedback on, or just, you know, it doesn't have to be a fully fledged out finished track. Whatever works. We're here to help each other out, and we're trying to do something communal here, you know? That's all about the community and all about that stuff. So please don't be scared to have any kind of doubts about anything. Just do stuff. Salberts, I will try. Just too much stuff going on right now. Yep, that's what life is. Sometimes it's just too much stuff going on and you can't find the time or the inspiration or whatever. In that case, it's fine, you know? Just relax and take your time, work on this craft whenever you have time for it. We don't want to push you over the limit of anything, you know? But yeah, Nate G has a point right here. If you find yourself humming stuff or beatboxing, record it on your phone and import it as a sample to later on replace it in your DAW. Definitely. But you know what, guys? It's time to actually refresh this inbox of mine and get into the first submission for today. Because, as it says up here, that's where it is. Right there. Yeah, we need to open that inbox. And usually I get too many submissions. I'm not able to cover it all, to play everything, but I'm doing as best as I can. If you have submitted a beat and it doesn't get played, that's just unfortunate, and I'm sorry about that. That's probably what it's going to be today too. I don't know. I can't make any promises, but right now we don't have more beats than I should be able to cover. So for now, it looks good. November 18th? That's tomorrow. How does that even work? No, November 15th. So that one's not going to be played. Okay, cool. Here we are. The first track, the first submission for today comes from JK. Salute. Here's another beat for the review. I did the usual. Drum programming, sample layering, and played some melodies on top. It's a bit more experimental than my last submission, so I'm excited for the feedback. Mixing on this one still needs some work. Yeah, sure. But a little bit more experimental than the last time. That's a good piece of information. Let's clear that one out. Let's import that one. I haven't double checked, so I'm not sure the audio works. But it sure does. So, let's give JK, or J to the K in the chat room, a play. So yeah. I've said that that's difficult. I've said that I'm trying to play about 2 minutes of a track, because sometimes things just goes on for too long. This is 3 minutes and 20 seconds, so we're gonna cut it right there. You know what? This is not what I expected. This tempo and this groove really did something, right? That type of tempo and that kind of rhythmical pattern is, the way I see things, it feels like kind of an up-tempo thing. It's up-tempo. It's the tempo is up there, so it's up-tempo. But with all the instrumentation going on here and the samples and stuff, it's still really laid back and chill, and I find that to be kind of a cool contrast. So creatively, to me, it just works as a chill and cool track, but still having a little bit of swing and a little bit of tempo and a little bit of energy to it. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. The thing that stood out to me here is, first of all, the tightness of the drums. In this genre, in this style, it works really well. I'm sure I would have slapped like a big freaking snare on there, and that wouldn't have worked. So this worked really well with that kind of muted snare shot on like a piccolo snare or whatever. That's cool. And also this crazy amount of vibrato on the Rhodes piano. That kind of works as a bass line, but still kind of not. I think that's cool. It really helps out a lot with the tempo and the vibe and the feeling and the mood, and then that vibrato, just bringing it to life. And sure, I know what you're saying with the fact that it's a little bit experimental, because with all the high notes, high finger playing, melody kind of soloing stuff on the same instrument is a little bit out there, but that's also what kind of makes it interesting, And if that was all that was going on here, it would still be really cool. But then this brass right here. That's such a nice touch. Such a nice touch. For sure. What are you guys saying? Horns are resampled, replayed, says JK. It's like riding a train and watching out the window, seeing things rush by. Yeah, it has a little bit of that vibe, doesn't it? Sitting on a train, just things flashing by, and it feels like time stopped, but it didn't, and whatever. Nice and dreamy stuff, but still not super low tempo, and I think that contrast, again, I think that's really cool. Inventive, I guess. Everything just fits well from AG. I couldn't agree more. It just sits nicely in there. A part of me kind of thought that, hey, a proper bass line here would be really cool. But then I figured the really low register kind of... Yeah, you can't hear that. The really low register Rhodes piano kind of works as a bass. Having that together with a bass instrument would kind of not work, I guess. And those swells, that's effective. Together with the ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Yeah, this is good stuff right off the bat. Just like that. A great way to start the show and a great beat to send into this weird live show of mine. Really good stuff. Everything sits nicely in there. I don't have a lot of stuff to complain about. Maybe it could be a little bit punchier, a little bit louder. I don't know. But everything that's going on here, like you could pick apart like the hi-hat track and the open hi-hat and just, that's a lot of work put in there. There's a lot of great choices being made when it comes to the sound choice, the sample choices. Yeah, J to the K, this is good stuff. Experimental, yeah, because all the stuff, sure, but you can get away with it, for sure. Without that, I think this would be still nice, still vibey and cool, but not as fun. And we like fun. Sometimes we like fun. I'm a depressed freaking guy, but sometimes we like fun, you know? So, again, man, JK has been featured a lot before and always hangs out in the chat room, adding to the entire experience. This is great stuff. Thanks a lot for sending it in. Thanks a lot for participating. And I think we're all blessed to be able to hear something like that as the first submission. You know, that's just great. Let me just check real quick if this one. That one doesn't work. Yeah, the audio is there. Let me just see if I can get this one working real quick. Real quick. No. Okay, I'm looking for a specific camera here. Hold on, I'm gonna add it. Capture card, no. Video capture device. Let me just see if I can find the webcam here. I could. Yeah, it just gives me one more thing to deal with. To me, it's kind of cool. Well, sorry, I wasn't really listening because I was jamming on my OPC. You're free to do so, you know? Do whatever you want. But yeah, a lot of people in the chat room seems to like this one too. It's not just me. That's always good to know that I'm not totally out on a limb. Now, the next beat comes from Jason. Comes from GG. Jeejee. The name of the track is In Vacuum. Also sounds a little bit experimental. So, In Vacuum with GG. Not sure how to pronounce that. Jeejee. GG. Or GG. I don't know. Let's just have a listen to the beat. That's some interesting stuff right there. I mean, this feels like I just want to play it again. I just want to start it all over, just listening to the entire thing once again. This is really cool. It's not often you come to my channel and you hear someone who actually knows how to kind of operate a turntable, you know? But it's good whenever it happens. And I have this thing with scratch music in general that I kind of like, you know, I'm not a huge fan of it because I feel like there's a big dissonance like between the technical aspect of scratching and the musical aspect of scratching. Sometimes whenever you get too technical, it doesn't get musical. And whenever it's musical, it's normally not that technical. And that's what I do. This, to me, kind of walked the line, the threshold of those two factors in a perfect way. He knows, Gigi. It's supposed to be Gigi, by the way. Gigi knows his or her. Gigi knows how to make the most out of scratching, by far. Definitely has the technical skills, but also the musical knowledge and the know-how to kind of make it work in a way that doesn't become... What's the word? Yeah, that still makes it work in a musical way. In the beginning here, the scratching part almost works as an instrument in the music. And, you know, there's obviously a little bit of editing going on and some cool stuff. The music here comes in, you know, the music work. I talk about the scratching a lot because the scratching here sounds like a part of the music more than anything. Whenever we hear like a beat and someone throws on like a rapper, it's sometimes difficult to focus on the beat. And for this one too, but in the best way possible, because you added this element of scratching that really works with the music. Without the scratching, you know, this track feels like it's made to be used like this. This is not just a beat with some scratch on it. The scratch is a part of the music. And that to me is really interesting and makes a lot of sense and is really cool. Now, could we have more like musical values in there? Maybe. I mean like pure notes and like remember melodies and whatever. But that's not what this is for, you know? That's not the intended purpose. And all the effects, all the filtering going on, bringing all the dynamics to a perfect amount. To me, this is super interesting. And I just want to hear this in the context of a beat tape, mixtape, album, whatever you want to call it, and just hearing the transition to the next track and just hearing more stuff like that. This is really good stuff. I like this a lot. It's dark and moody and has a lot of cool vibes to it. Sure, a part of me who likes all the like high top melodies and stuff kind of wants more of that, but I get that that's not really the genre for this. And that's totally cool. Totally fine. No, totally cool. And just playing that section right here, it's way too noisy for me with the ride cymbals and everything, just like that. But in the context of the track, it works perfectly. I do like this one a lot. And people in the chat room are calling it overwhelming and distracting. What are you talking about? The outro that never stops giving. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Beat Owl said it best. The scratches fits in very organic. And yeah, that's one of the words that could be used for this perfectly well. The scratches they are very organic in this way. That's what I try to do sometimes, but I have a hard time with the technical aspect of it. Sure. But it's a nice track. It's nice and full and has a lot of vibes to it. The scratching really adds that element that it needs. I think this is good job. You tried to help me out with the word. I'm not talking. Yeah, okay. The word I was looking for is not overwhelming and not distracting. More like infuriating, I guess. Because whenever I hear like properly great scratch DJs going like for too long, it becomes too intense and too much. It's not just distracting, it's also like, yeah, stop it with the noise, I want scratch to be, I want the beat, like the instrumental and the scratching to come together and create something more than the sum of its parts. Sometimes you could have like a fine drum loop with a bass line or whatever, and someone going exhausting. Exhausting is the better word. Thank you. Someone going like totally, and it just doesn't work. So to me, scratch, I need scratching to be musical. And if it's not, I think it's not just irritating, but it also kind of destroys everything. This one, it's not the case. DJ Babu has a good balance of complex but works in a hook. Yeah, DJ Babu is definitely one of those I hold up there. Of course, DJ Premier, DJ Babu. Babu is more technical and better, so... But this was something different. Technical and cool and impressive, but not too much. Great stuff. Thank you, Gigi. Another great submission, this time around with a lot of cool scratching. I do appreciate that. Now, the next submission, let's just move into the next one, comes from Lax22, who has been here for a lot of streams. Yo, Ak, hope you're doing well. I am. Thank you. Sending you a pretty short beat this time. It's based on just one loop, but I tried to vary it up a bit. I've sampled some Latin jazz from the late 60s. A sample I have heard been used quite a few times before, actually. Loads of percussions and some 404 effects for spice. This one has to come with a reverb snare warning. Okay. Good luck with the stream tonight. Yeah, thank you. Lax22. That's a really, really nice email to send over. But if there's reverb on the snare, we're going to have to point that out, don't you? Lax22. Let's go. Cool. Yeah, that's some old school stuff right there. That's awesome. We just mentioned DJ Premier, so I can't help myself but thinking about, I think it's Above the Clouds, isn't it? Dum, 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 Ding, dong, dong, dong. I think that's Above the Clouds with Gangstar. Reminds me of this one quite a bit. Or this one reminds me of that one. Not the main sample, but the bass line and the drums. This is cool. I mean, this is kind of what a beat contains of, you know? Drums, a few samples chopped up, in this case, jazz, and then a really deep bass line and a few percussion stuff and whatever. Doesn't need to be much more than that. This one deserves some kind of rapper on top of it, I think. But still, the vibe is there, everything is cool. If I wanted to be harsh, let's be a little bit harsh. I think it could be interesting to hear the hi-hats being a little bit lower in volume, and maybe, I'm just spitballing here, maybe it could be cool to hear the bass lines. Now we're talking details, but let me just trust me. What would happen with the swing and the feeling of the rhythmical aspects of this track if you made the longer extended bass notes just a little bit shorter? We're talking about the details, we are. But instead of letting the longer extended bass notes be cut off with the next one, what happened if those would stop a little bit earlier? And it's mirrored, so I'm thinking the start of it is here and it goes like this. And then the next one comes. What would happen if you made it silent just a 16th note before the next one hits? I think something like that, and like playing around with the timing here, would improve the swing, the feel. Not that it's necessary. This is cool as it is. I'm just thinking. Instead of boom, 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 going like boom, boom, not that long. Boom, 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 boom. I can't. Boom, 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 boom. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. A little bit of silence just before. Yeah, Beatdown knows what I mean. Above the Clouds is similar. Yeah, good point. Cool, maybe it is. But I mean, this is close to my heart, right? That type of deep bass line, simple and just no questions asked. And then a really nice, vibey, jazzy kind of jazz chord here and there. Above the clouds, above the sound of the start of the minute. Maybe a little bit. But also, man, I'm noticing right now, the kick drum. Yeah. I said the hi-hat needs to be taken down. I don't think that's right anymore. I think you just need more bass line. No. Jesus. Kick drum. I think you need more kick drum. The volume of the kick. It sounds decent as it is, like the actual kick sample. Just want more of it. More volume, dude. But also that little like triangle or whatever it is, that little bling, also really Premiere kind of thing to do. This is good. Love it. Right up my alley when it comes to my musical taste. You know, to me it sounds Premiere inspired. Maybe it isn't, but to me it sounds like something Premiere could have done. And you know that I love DJ Premiere more than most things in life. Now, I don't think I have my... Yeah, there it is. Cool. So, thanks, Lax22. I think we've said enough about this one. And let's move on to the next one. From someone called Chuck Norris. You know? This is an old beat I made in 2018 when I was hooked on making short lo-fi beats. Nothing special, nothing fancy, just wanted to send a beat. And you are more than welcome to do so, Chuck Norris. Thanks a lot for this thing. Let's see if it plays in VLC. And it seems like it does. Let's get into the next track. That's loud. Need to take it down a little bit. Let's go. Something went south, didn't it? That music did not come out. Okay. Sorry guys, we have a big latency between me and you, so I'm sorry about that. Something happened with the you know what happened. You heard nothing. So that's VLC properties, restart. Okay. Okay, there we are. Sorry guys, and you're gonna tell me this for like 1 more minute because the latency is bad. My mic was muted. Yeah, it was, but that's by design. Now we are ready to to listen to the Chuck Norris beat right now. That was a very inventive track. Used silence very efficiently. Yeah, for sure. Let's give it another go. Now you heard the track, didn't you? You know what? Let's try to talk about this one without becoming too technical about it. Because what's a little bit dangerous with this type of mix is that it's not going to translate perfectly through systems, right? And yeah, I also need to chat out. I said Chuck Norris. That's my bad. The file name says the producer tag, and the name is Dirty 1200. So this one is from Dirty 1200, not by Chuck Norris. My bad. Dirty 1200 with this track called I Remember. Right? So, again, a track like that, this has a little bit of an issue translating perfectly because I'm listening to headphones, right? If you have like small speakers or big speakers or an extra sub or whatever, it's going to translate differently. The goal is always to have a mix of a track translate perfectly between all systems in the world. This one, I'm not so sure that it does. That's just what I'm trying to say. I'm just listening on my headphones right now. That's my first time listening to it, you know. But this really loud, really low, subby bass line, especially in the beginning here, feels like it's too much. And then the sample comes in and everything gets balanced out in a nicer way. And we have a lot of ducking going on. Maybe from just limiting the master signal, or maybe from adding a compressor with a sidechain kind of setting in the mix. Hard to say. It's cool and it's effective in this kind of genre, but we also got to know, sometimes we just got to remind ourselves that we are in a specific genre where this just flies and it's cool. But compared to a lot of other music that's been produced over the years or nowadays, this is going to sound a little bit strange to some people because of the massive amount of ducking going on. And I think it's cool. I think it's a nice creative choice to do stuff like that. But I just want to point out that sometimes it could be viewed as poorly mixed. And maybe it's not, Maybe it's not poorly mixed, but because everything fights for the same space and the volume goes up and down, it's cool. To me, it's cool. To most of you, I guess it's cool, but there's a reason why you don't hear stuff like this on like mainstream radio much. So, I mean, the mixing process here is made in a really cool way, but it's still a little bit different. I think it's cool, really cool. Maybe the snare needs to be a little bit punchier, a little bit more in your face to kind of work with everything. Maybe not. My problem with this one, besides from the fact that it's ducking all everywhere, I might be wrong, but to me, right now, it feels like this massive hit on the first note here, on the first beat, doesn't feel like it's 100% in tune. Right here. Well, maybe it's me. I don't know. It just feels like if I'm here to give a little bit of feedback and some reviewing beats, I need to mention stuff like this. But I mean, the vibe is here. It has all this cool sidechain stuff that a lot of us really, really likes. Maybe a little bit too much of it, but I don't know. Symphonic Beats says it's definitely off, but it still kind of works. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. About the pitchiness of this main sample. It's not that it kind of makes your ear bleed, it's not that off. It's off, but in a way that might be thought about and might be intentional. You never know. It's a cool track, and the main sample with the vocals, I'm just a huge fan. I like it. I cannot rid myself of old memories. And it comes to a point where it becomes saturated and distorted in a way that's not super pleasing.
I cannot rid myself of old memories.
Or maybe it is. I don't know. Dirty 1200, thanks a lot for sending this one over. An old beat from 2018. I mean, we can't hold you accountable for all the choices made here. And in 2018, doing stuff like this that's like massively sidechained was kind of an aesthetic. So, cool. Thanks a lot for sending it in. Thanks a lot for being a part of it. And I think it's fun whenever we can dive into stuff like that. Sometimes it's out of tune. Sometimes it's crazy sidechained. Sometimes it's distorted. Sometimes it's, we've had some stuff in here that's not even on beat. This is cool. Not hating this. Now, the next track is a submission from Lam. Lam Beats. Just a beat with a Swedish sample. Awesome stuff. Lam Beats sends a track called Lindfors. Kikki Lindfors? Lill Lindfors. Yeah. Lill Lindfors. An old Swedish artist. So I guess this is a sample from Lill Lindfors. Let's have a listen to Lam. Yeah, that's a bunch of cool samples, combined in a really cool way. This is good. My main point of criticism here, just straight out of the bag, I know we have two different versions with two different pitch values on the main sample, and that's cool, but a part of me just feels like it started and then it didn't really take us anywhere. When it comes to the arrangement, there's just a lack of dynamics. Because we have this it has a lot of tension in it itself, but we never get the resolution. It never opens up or closes down, nothing really happens. It's not only that it's repetitive, because that could be one way of saying it, but I'm choosing to pick my words differently here. It feels like this is a start of something. We need a section here that's just, instead of, you know, and it really feels like a loop. It is a loop. Everything's a loop. But let's think about this musically and like, yeah, we need some kind of resolution when it comes to the note values here. If it's not possible to do it with the sample, make a different section without the sample and just work with chords and sound effects and other stuff that makes it work to become something more. I think that would make sense for this. There are so many melodies to combine this with and to let it evolve into, and it didn't really happen. So that's one point of criticism. Took me 10 minutes, but also I want the bass line to be louder. This feels like one of those situations where you're working on something and you have this louder bass, and then you start taking it down because it feels like it's too intense, and then you take it down a little bit more because I'm not sure that it's in tune, and then you take it down a little bit more because how does this really sound, you know? I think we just need more volume on the bass line and just allow it to take the space that it deserves. What about an artist or a vocalist? Yeah, someone pointed that out too, that this is a typical freestyle type of beat, and it definitely is. Just allowing this one to play in a loop and having like a bunch of rappers spitting, 4 or 8 bars back to back would be really, really cool. But if that's not what we're hearing, we can't really, we can only imagine how that would sound. Like having a bunch of semi-aggressive rappers spitting some hard bars on this, it would be really cool. And it feels like one of those beats. I mean, having a rapper on top of this, or a few of them for some kind of pulsy track or whatever, it would be cool. Would be really cool. Who? It's really hard to say. Really hard to say. But yeah, some type of cypher feels fitting. Yeah, I could hear someone like Action Bronson. The old Action Bronson. Maybe someone like Merce. What do you think about that? Merce on this one. Just being all lyrical and telling stories and just doing whatever he does. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Merce. Merce on top of that would be cool. Again, the old type of Merce. Like, whatever. It's a nice track. Doesn't feel like we have a lot of bad stuff to say about it. More than what I've already said. What are you saying yourself in the chat room? Long beats. Big true about the bass. Maybe. It did feel like I was waiting for the next step or some kind of beat switch up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It felt like we have, there's it's a fine kind of relationship between tension and resolution. This one had a lot of tension, but we never got the resolution. How that's done is impossible to get into, but I think you know what I'm saying. So yeah, this one came in from Lam Beats. Thanks a lot for sending it over. And again, my freaking windows. I need to get rid of that one. And then, I know you can't see what I'm doing. Then having that one up there, so I can go click, click. That works way better. Long Beats, thanks a lot for your submission. All right. And they're still coming in beats. People are still sending in things over, and it's amazing. So let's move right into atmosphere. Sending an email saying, hope all is good. Thanks again for the opportunity to be heard. Thank you for submitting beats, man. I wouldn't be able to do this kind of concept if it wasn't for you guys. Atmosphere sends over a beat called Let's Play. And let's have a listen. Well, it's been over 2 minutes, so I'm just going to cut it off. You know, this is cool. From Atmosphere. Before we get into all the praising here, I just want to point this out. Aren't we a community of people who knows better than being fooled by really loud mixing? Just putting it out there. Aren't we a community of producers and people who shouldn't be fooled by really loud mixing? Aren't we? And that's not me like being critical of Atmosphere at all. This is good stuff right off the bat. This is good stuff. But one of the reasons why it feels better than it is, or as good as it is, or whatever, is because everything is really punchy. Really punchy, really in your face, distorted, saturated, like put just to the absolute maximum. And that's a thing to do. So, as producers, we hopefully have like the possibility and the ability in our minds and ears to kind of translate this to, there's a production phase and there's a mixing phase. And as a production, or two, I mean, this is actually two different beats. The beats are good. Definitely, hands down, good stuff. straight up. But if it wasn't mixed that kind of aggressively, it would translate and feel totally differently, right? And yeah, I'm not saying that this is not good. I'm not saying that the mixing here doesn't work. I think it does. But we also gotta know that the beat without this mixing hadn't been as forceful and cool as it comes through. And just the fact that you're able to do this, you know how to push all the right buttons and do all the right things to make it this aggressive and this in your face, that's impressive and cool just as it is, just as one thing. But the actual samples and the values and the drums and the sounds and everything in here could be put together in exactly the same way and sounding way different. And honestly, in the first track here, the bass line, oh my God. And that's one of the things, that's one of the reasons why I'm saying all this, because the bass line here is really cool. The way it's been played or programmed or whatever works so freaking well with the rhythm and the swing and the groove of things. But the bass line, the bass notes, actually gets buried a little bit by the mixing. That's not the right section, but you know, again, just to explain myself, I'm not hating on this. I'm not hating on this. This is really, really cool. I'm just saying that we need to think about what's what here. This type of mixing works really well with this stuff. This is well put together and the mix works flawlessly with this kind of stuff. I'm not saying anything else. I'm just pointing my attention to the fact that something has been done here. But this is good stuff. I mean, whatever, what can I say? The bass line in the first track stands out to me as a musical element that's just fire. Love it. And I love the snare on the second one. You know, I'm not a huge fan of distortion or overdrive or whatever in general, but in this case, I definitely think it works. Great stuff. I don't have a lot of bad stuff to say about the production at all. You know what you're doing, obviously. This is great stuff. Thanks a lot for blessing us with this atmosphere. Keep sending in stuff. Keep being a part of this. We love it. Awesome. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say here. Not criticism. Just, hey guys, you know what's going on? Yeah, I think you know what's going on. I know what's going on. We're on the same page? Yeah, we're on the same page. Yeah. And the next track comes from Symphonic Beats, who's also in the chat room helping out with stuff. Saying, hello Accurate, I just picked up a Mini Freak. Amazing, by the way. Mini Freak? It's not there anymore. It's over there. My bad. And I don't even know what camera we're talking about. Yeah. Boom. The Mini Freak. Did I put that one over there? It's supposed to be... Whatever. The Mini Freak. Good stuff. And I put something together last night. Still a rough draft for now. Okay. This is mostly a sample flip with some ambience from the Freak added. Appreciate the feedback. Symphonic Beats. Symphonic Beats. Let's go.
Children play in fields of green. and the sound of
That's not me. That's the actual file. And then it's a minute of silence. Totally caught me off guard. My bad. You know what? I have a weak point for these kinds of vocal samples just thrown in all over the place if it still works musically. And it does. To me, that's just always. It's like whenever a guitarist hear a good guitar sound, you know? To me, just having the start of the track going.
children play in fields of green, and the sound of
The only thing I'm thinking is like, where are you going with this? What's going to happen? This has so much potential. Where are you taking this? What's going on with this double snare hit right here? What's that? Is that intentional? If it is, I'm not sure what I think about it. If it's not, whatever. Immediately I feel like a bass line. There's a lot of double hits on the snare here too. What's that? And he said, I have no idea. I didn't notice it last night. Okay, cool. But yeah, we need a proper bass line on this one. The sample has all the potential in the world, and the drums are a little bit, unorthodox, I guess. But a bass line. The bass in here just complements everything and just fits kind of well from a pitch kind of standpoint. But I'm talking about the volume and the massiveness of a bass line could add to a track like this. That's what I want to hear. Really like boom. Because whenever you're working with drum samples like this, that's really like dry and, crispy and dry like that. And this kind of high-pitched sample with the piano and the vocal and stuff, I think it makes sense to just fill out the rest of the frequency spectrum with something else. The string thing kind of works, but a bass line, your voice actually worked there. I need to sample that. What are you talking about? Did I do something with my voice? In that case, I'm really sorry. Give us more bass and get rid of those extra snare sounds because but I think the entire production here is cool. It has a lot of potential. The sample and the rest of the things you've made with it, I mean, the drums works, but a solid deep bass line to just work as this foundation for it would make a ton of difference. So yeah, awesome stuff. And you made this one last night and just sent it over, so I'm not going to judge you too hard. This is good stuff. Has a lot of potential and definitely deserves to be played around with it even more and just developed into something somewhat finished, I guess. But yeah. The next submission for tonight comes from the old Mickey Cuts. Hi Accurate, hey fam, hope you're well. I'm sending a track that I made 2 days ago. I was thinking that my last beat on the MPC-1, that's my last beat on the MPC-1, but it looks like I have to stick with it for a little bit longer. I used drums from Damon Flores, that's how I'm gonna say it. I think I've seen some ads and stuff on Instagram. And some samples from Mo Latte. Chopped and layered. Hope you enjoy. Thanks for all your work. Thanks for all your work, Mickey Cuts. Your stuff is always interesting to have featured. So, the next track from Mickey Cuts. Let's go.
Stop the noise, do you hear? Are we doing that?
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop the noise!
Leave it to Mickey.
I mean, yeah. Let's not talk too much about the mixing on that one because I think it's kind of obvious for Mickey Cuts too that it needs to be balanced, you know? It's really cool to have a lot of bass and a lot of depth and stuff, but sometimes you also need something to kind of balance that up, you know, just a little bit more in the overall like mix of the master. But yeah, I mean, the vibe here, the heaviness with that kind of tempo and those drums and that bass. The bass is kind of like the main attraction here. Bass line is really cool. Bass notes fits perfectly. The bass tone, the bass sound, awesome stuff. And the drums, like super punchy and snappy in this kind of low tempo, really works. And also, you did a lot of cool stuff with just small, like whatever we call ear candy, tiny like sound effects. It's a little bit dissonant in some places, in a really effective and cool and interesting way. It's nice. I think this is really cool. A part of me feels like it's a little bit, not just the mixing. The mixing is a little bit dull and keeps it kind of muddy and whatever, even though we're trying to stay away from that word. But musically speaking, when it comes to the arrangement, everything just works. Enough things are changing over time that it's still kind of really interesting to listen to. Those notes, yeah.
Well, you leave it to Mickey.
I mean, what's there to say, really? The main piano thing, I'm gonna call that a piano. I think it would be interesting to hear everything like this as it is right now, but just duplicate. I don't know if it's possible or whatever you're working in, but what happened if you would have duplicated that kind of melody, the more instrumental piano kind of figure, onto a secondary track, pitched that up 12 semitones and just mix in a little bit of it. Just a few decibels, just to give it a little bit of shine and crispness. The same notes, the same stuff, just a copy of it, one octave above. And it's funny because some of the sound effects kind of cuts through this frequency spectrum that I'm talking about. It feels like it has kind of a filter on it. It's low, but some of the sound effects cuts through. So those frequency ranges, I want more stuff in there. I get that it's supposed to be like dark and gritty and stuff, and it could be, but still have a little bit of information in the higher frequencies. Not talking about the higher treble. I'm talking about like the higher mids or the low treble, Something like that. That's going to be my feedback for this one. Mickey Cuts says, this one is in 68 BPM. Yeah, I'm getting into a side project where I'm doing a lot of stuff that's in a lower tempo. 68 is slow, but I'm trying to work around like, from 65 to 78 or something, and I think it's interesting and cool. You can get a lot of heaviness and a lot of depth out of that kind of tempo. So, yeah. Thanks a lot, Mickey Cuts, for your submission. Someone asked specifically, let's see who that was. Charles Clements. All caps. Accurate. Did you get my beat? It's from Charles Clements. Charles Clements. Yep, it's in here. Twice, actually. The same submission twice. Beat I made in 2021 and 2021 beat I made. So your submission is in here. 100%. Let's also just get into the spam folder. Oh, a collaboration offer. That actually doesn't seem to be spam. Let me just Google this real quick. What do they do? That can't be them. Let me just... Oh, they make cell phones. No. And that's all we got in the junk folder. So everything else has come through, and we still have, what's that, like about 15 beats to go. Let's move into a track from Romania. Hello there. I really appreciate your time for feedback. I started to explore this days, and today I came up with this. That's what it says. Tomorrow I'll make another one, and one beat a day keeps the doctor away. All the best from Romania. From Sylvian. One beat a day keeps the doctor away. Yeah, that makes sense. I wish I had the time to do that, but yeah. This one is called Drone 60 BPM. 1.5 minute long. Let's have a listen. You know, this is definitely droney, but I thought this was just a drone. To me, a drone is like one synth with one patch being modulated over time or whatever, but still just one thing. This is more than that. And drums and everything. Getting stuff that's more ambient is always interesting because it takes you to a different kind of place. You know, having a bunch of 70s soul samples or jazz samples and stuff thrown in there is what most people do. This is interesting in an entirely different kind of way. Because there are, you have to find all the different elements and all the different textures and all the stuff that's going on. And something that's kind of minimalistic becomes really interesting if you listen to it in the right way. Knowing a few things about how a synthesizer works or how sound design works in general helps. So for a casual listener, this maybe feels a little bit soulless and a little bit flat and uninteresting. To someone like me, this is the obvious opposite of that. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of say that I think everything here is made from synths in one way or another. And that's one of my points of criticism too. Because when you have this really cool and ambient chords and notes going on with a lot of texture. And then putting drums on it. To me, it makes a lot of sense to have drums that has a little bit more character or body or whatever you want to say. In this case, it feels like we're dealing with pretty raw and pretty unedited synth drums. Yeah, there's a delay and a reverb and whatever, but I'm just saying that the drum samples. The kick drum here, if we had this more, a kick drum with more body and a little bit saturation maybe, and maybe a little bit more air behind it, I think it would be really cool. Now we have this really short, synthy, punchy, but you know, a kick drum without a lot of character. And I think a track like this deserves to have different drums, is what I'm saying. Textures of bass cuts and a little synth. Cool. I'll work on the drums, I promise. Yeah, I'm maybe not. Maybe I'm just not understanding this genre to the fullest. But to me, it feels like it could be worth it to try different drum samples or just working with them differently. Nate G says definitely Metal Gear Solid. And yeah, I mean, if you think about it that way, especially with the snare or rim shot thing with the delay, it feels like a track from Metal Gear Solid, 100%. Whatever. It's cool. But what's impressive here is everything that's going on in this drone thing. I just think it deserves something more from the drums and maybe some kind of top line somewhere. Not a full-on played-out melody with like extended notes, but just some pluck sounds maybe going like bling, bling, bling to just add atmosphere and some kind of tonality that someone can remember. Again, I want things to be rememberable for some reason. That's what I always go to. Maybe that's a Swedish kind of thing. This is cool and great as it is. But what is it? It's a bunch of textures, a bunch of things in a really cool ambient drone with some not so fun drums. I'm sampling those gun sounds whenever I'm doing. You can't sample anything I just put into this mic. It's not fair. It's not fair. Pluck is a great idea. Thanks for this community. Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you. And again, I just gotta point it out. Sometimes I'm really wrong about my ideas and my feedback on things. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. That's just the way it is. Let's play a track from Blaze Beats, right? Blaze Beats. Hey, just wanted to send in a quick beat I made the other day. Thank you for what you do. Thank you, Blaze Beats. You have been with us for a while, and we have yet another submission. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Blaze Beats, let's go. Oh my. I think that came through on your end too. Now I'm scared to hit play. Volume down. Play. Okay, that's just like that, and that's increase. Now, let's go. Cool stuff. Cool stuff for sure. I'm finding out something as I listen to this. It feels like I've done this before myself. That's why I'm pointing it out. Sorry about that note. We have two distinct sections here, right? This is the first one. And now the second one. So what I'm trying to get to here is that in the first section here, that also comes back over here. I know what you did. The first and the second part works really well together, and the second one, like this one, has this really nice and well rounded off and like sub bass line. The bass line is what I'm talking about. The bass line here is awesome. It helps with the groove and making these really drunken drums work. And then we have the different section that comes after this. Listen to the bass line in the secondary version. There's no bass line. And then, you know, we need a bass line for that secondary, for that different section with the electric guitar and the horns. You know? So two different sections, definitely. One with a bass line and another one without. That's a strange thing to do. I think we need a bass line for that secondary part too. That's what I'm saying. And then we're back. So to me, we need a bass line right there. And I mean, we can talk for days about this Jay Dilla kind of inspired drum way of working with drums and stuff. It's really cool. This one has a lot of great vibes to it. I love the fact that you have that don't sample that guitar thing in the background. It really helps bringing it to this funky kind of space where we're at. Maybe the lack of a bass line added to the contrast? No, I don't think so. I think the secondary section definitely would grow with a bass line. You don't necessarily need it for the first one. That could work as an intro, I guess. But then we need a bass line to kind of hold the fort. And it's also funny because when you use this kind of groove that's really like off the grid, you normally don't have a lot of instrumentation that kind of works with a normal straight kind of thing. And here we do. There's a lot of vibrato and a lot of tremolo and stuff going on that kind of holds that tempo, where we could easily imagine like straight up drums on it. And then you have this secondary groove. And that's what really makes this one interesting. Because if we just forget about the drums, the rest of the instrumentation has a solid beat to it, a solid pulse, and you just don't care, do you? I think that's cool. But I mean, everything about the timing here, Nate G points it out, the Rhodes timing works well against the drums. Yeah, the timing here is what sets this one apart. What makes this one swing as hard as it does. What makes this one stand out the way that it does. The timing. Blaze Beats, this is great work. We do need a bass line on that secondary section, though. We need that, for real. But the swing, the different instruments, everything that goes on, and the vibe that brings it all together, it's jazzy and kind of funky. It's kind of melancholic, but still kind of funky. This is... Yeah, huge fan. Everything sits just in the right place, and the section with the bass line is impressive. The bass line takes up a lot of space, but doesn't become overbearingly loud or whatever. We just need that, I feel you. Okay, cool. You know what I'm talking about, Blaze Beats. Give us that bass line. And this is a great beat. So, that's Blaze Beats. Let's zoom out a little bit. I started at 8. It's now 9:40. So about 20 minutes left. I think I'm going to cut it at that point. I know I always say that. And I keep referring to the wrong camera. Hey. Let's just refresh the inbox here. We still have beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because he said it twice. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We still have 14 beats to go. And we have played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 24 beats in one session is a little bit too much, but let's keep moving. Let's go with Arbus. Arbus says, Leo. What happened? Arbus says, yo, let me know what you think. Thanks for all your work in the community. And a WAV file in the email, and also a G Drive link. The file doesn't seem to work. Yes, it does. It's just a WAV file. Took a little bit of time. There we are. So, Arbus, the track is called Old Habits. Let's freaking go. This is great sounding. No, not great sounding. Great vibes and a great kind of emotion and feeling. A lot of soul in this one. Love that kind of stuff. You said you made this one on the MPC 1000, which is what it is. But when it comes to the mixing and the actual sonics of this one, I'm sorry to say that even though I think it's really cool and a lot of people in the chat room likes it, compared to other music that you hear on the radio, TV, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, this kind of filtering is cool from a creative perspective, but from a casual listener, this is not going to be fun to listen to because it doesn't translate. You don't have a lot of high frequencies whatsoever in it. It feels like there's like this low pass filter just applied on it. Still, the vibe and the soulful spirit and feeling we're getting out of this is awesome. That guitar figure, getting that entire to work is a pain. And that, Soul 101, boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom. Awesome stuff. Musically speaking, this is great. This is just really, really good, really, really good, really, really good. But frequency-wise, when it comes to the mixing, the mastering, whatever you want to call it, the processing, something needs to be done here. If we could just bring out some of the high frequencies, just making everything a little bit louder and crispier, this would be so. It wouldn't change anything, but it would be easier to listen to. So everything in terms of the music here is just phenomenal, hands down. Love this one. It does need a little bit of polish when it comes to the mixing, for sure. But getting everything to work like this from a rhythmical perspective to still keep that soulfulness, but still making it into a beat. Who was this? This was from Arbus, yeah. And I mean, I'm not trying to be too harsh about it. You made it on the MPC 1000, which is a challenge in itself. But then I think it would make sense to try to process it in the MPC. Or if you have to, record the stems and do a little bit of EQing in a DAW or something like that. Just to bring this one out to the next. And I'm not talking about the beat. I'm talking about the mixing. We're often getting stuck on that. But I think a little bit of mixing here would take this one way far. In the best way. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Big fan. Love it. And everything that's going on with the frequencies, like ducking and it feels intentional and it's processed in FL Studio. It is. Okay, am I wrong? Am I wrong here? Help me out in the chat. Am I wrong saying that we need more high frequencies? More low, more high mids? The reverb on the snare, though. The reverb on the snare. I don't know. A great track. Great composition. A great beat. In so many ways. Now, let's get into Icon 74. Hey, it's Icon 74, and here's my beat for today's show. Boom. Short and concise, to the point. Here we are. Icon 74, the track is called Waiting for You. Let's fucking go.
Sorry, I guess that was rude.
Oh, the mic is on. I'm sorry about that. Oh, this is cool. This is cool. I saw something on the waveform here that didn't really make sense. I tried to like switch it around and whatever, making it mono and not. I tried to avoid. I try to stay away from talking about panning because I have this issue. But in this case, it's kind of obvious that on the, I'm not sure I'm getting this right, but I think on the left side of the music, there's a lot of strings going on and it feels nice and full. On the right side of it, we don't have a lot of the high frequency strings, which is obviously a choice you can do whenever you work with panning. To me, maybe it's a little bit much in this case. Hard for me to say. What I'm hearing sounds fine, but when I switched it to just hearing the right side, it felt kind of dull. And depending on how you listen to it, I guess it kind of works, but I think it's a thing to be concerned about and to think about and to be kind of, knowing what you do. Do you have millimeters? That could be cool to show on display on stream. It could be. I've thought about that, and I've thought about like the entire waveform just down here somewhere. Down here somewhere. I don't think so. I think I want the stream like this. We used to have a window like over here with like over here with the chat and stuff, and it felt gamery and whatever. But yeah, this one was from Icon74 about a year ago. Okay, so I still think it needs to be said that the overall vibe here and how things just goes together, sounding really old and really kind of modern in the same way, at the same time, is cool.
Sorry, I guess that was rude.
Nate G. No. Thanks a lot for pointing it out. I know. Stereo is what it is. I just noticed it on the metering here that it was kind of strange, and then I switched it and it made sense. So there's not a lot of strings on the right hand side, and I don't understand why. But it's a good track. I think the vibe here and the way everything just glues together in terms of pitch is impressive. Combining strings and a vocal sample like that is effective and cool, but getting them to match up like this is an art form in itself. Millimeters is the program everyone uses. It's pretty useful. Okay, so I'm gonna check what that is. Mini meters. Is it a thing like a plugin for OBS or something? Could be cool. Could be cool. But let's leave Icon 74 with that track and move on to the next one. Icon, again, thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for sending in your stuff. And that goes for every single one of you. This is awesome. Now we have even more beats. I don't know what to do anymore. I know what to do. Play another one. From Toadstool, no, this is someone else. I have a little bit of a hard time sometimes remembering who's who. Toadstool is... I'm supposed to know this. I'm supposed to. Yeah. Who says, here's a little something I made. It doesn't say here. It's just a little something I made. Thanks for the listen and the feedback. Cool, cool, cool. And into VLC we go. Like so. Oh, microphone. Okay, there we are. So, my first thought about this, it feels like this is kind of a strange mismatch between two different genres of music, almost. Nate G. Yeah, I have your email here too. Your submission is safe. I've seen it before, so I don't have to double check. Nate G is in there, I know. This nice and dreamy kind of independent pop kind of thing, together with some drums that kind of reminds me of beats. Yeah, I'm gonna be harsh, but to me it feels like the musical values here, the instrumentation in general, is one thing and the drums is another. And they don't really combine that well, to me. Maybe that could be fixed, or maybe just use this for something else. I mean, you could go with more like hip-hoppy kind of beat makers vibes, well, drums, or just replace the drums with something more acoustic, you know? Normal, beautiful kind of drums that doesn't necessarily have to have a lot of punch or attitude. To me, I think I would have a really hard time combining these two elements, because the chords and the melodies and everything that's going on is beautiful, and the drums just says something else. And also that one is kind of cool. Some of the figures in there, they are kind of strange. Who was this from? Toadstool. Yeah, I know there's another nickname here for this producer. I just can't put my finger on it. No, it's Toadstool Music in the chat room. You used to be called something else, right? It's definitely an experimental piece. Yeah, and I would lean into that. Like allowing it to be experimental in a way there where you're not trying to put drums like this on it. Just from an aesthetic standpoint, I mean, artistry is what it is, but from my perspective, it feels like it's two different aesthetics going on. I don't hate it, but to me it doesn't make sense. All these backwards kinds of things and everything is cool and interesting. The drums is what takes me out of it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And the bass things, I mean, it's all interesting. Is someone supposed to sing on this? I don't know. I have too many questions. It's an interesting piece of music, a little bit hard to wrap my head around, and I think we're going to leave it right there because we need to speed things up, to play a few more tracks just to not leave too many people hanging. Let's go to Charles Clemens. Oh, the first email doesn't have a file, and the second one doesn't have a file. Charles Clemens, you asked me before if I received your submission, and I said yes, because I got the email, but the email is totally empty. There's nothing in here. Charles Clemens. Calling Charles Clemens. Send the actual file, please. 2 emails with nothing. Maybe that's me making a mistake telling you that it got here when it didn't, but still. I have 2 emails, but I don't have a file. Instead, let's move into Chocolate Boy Swagger. That's the name of the next person. Chocolate Boy Swagger. Howdy. First time submitting. Actually on the job right now. I have a beat in the vault. Let's see how it goes. Heads up, not mixed yet. Okay. So, someone who hasn't submitted before. You know? A newcomer to the show. Chocolate Boy Swagger. Thanks a lot for submitting. It's always nice to have new people submitting. The track is called The State and the producer is called Chocolate Boy Swagger. Let's go. Baka baka. Ah, the mic is on. I can't do that to a track. Sorry, the mic was on. My bad. Let's go again. Yeah, that's cool. It becomes borderline repetitive, and then you have that ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. I need more of that. I want more of that in the track. This is just 1 minute 15. I get it. Maybe it's for a rapper. Maybe it's going to be filled out with like a lot of words. But and right here, I want a change. But you do it right here. Because whenever you produce stuff, it's hard to think about. But when you listen to it like for the first time, like I am right now, this big choir going it's cool, but it's really intense and it takes up a lot of space. It kind of grabs my attention, so it feels more repetitive than it is. You're helping that away. You're taking a lot of that away with the bass line, being as musical and nice as it is. But since we still have this, it becomes intrusive to the entire mix in a way that's not just pleasing. It's a great track. It's really cool. I would want to kind of balance everything up. The bass line is nice, but the rest of the sample, just because it's kind of loud and whatever, we still want it to be a little bit louder in terms of volume. Because now it feels like the snare that everyone complains about in the chat room, and the bass line is kind of what does it. But we have this massive sample layer that needs to be boosted. There's, we talk about gluing things together all the time, and it's hard to say exactly what that is without going into the details with compression and whatever. You can go a long way with level and EQ, for sure. In this case, I feel that's what's lacking. The glue that holds everything together. Maybe it's a brick wall limiter at the end. Maybe it's compression on the sample. Hard to say, but it somehow doesn't really glue together. I always go to level and the EQ first because I think a lot of stuff can be helped out by that. But then, obviously, the snare drum here could be changed. It needs to have a little bit of, or a little bit of, or a little bit of, something more than just. Now it's, you could do, if that makes sense. We need glue, and Nate G said it best, a punchy mid-range snare would drive the pulse more. Yes, that, and also don't be afraid of using this big that's cool. That could be used in so many ways. Chopping, like taking one of the stabs, just putting it in the loop somewhere as a little surprise thing. Something like that. And the glue. Doing more. That's what I think could help this one. But as its own little production thing, this is really cool. Needs to be tweaked and could be varied in a few different ways. But the main idea here has a ton of potential. Hands down. Awesome stuff. From Chocolate Boy Swagger. I think, okay, heads up, not mixed yet. And 3 exclamation points, whatever that's called in English. It's not mixed, so sorry for going ham on that. I think if you got the mix, if you kind of nail the mix, this is good as it is. Maybe you could add something more. I don't know. The mixing would do a lot of work here. And this was from a first-time submitter. That's cool. Chocolate Boy Swagger, thanks a lot. Hope I wasn't like too harsh on you. I don't think I was. But I gotta go through here and mark the ones we've played in a way that makes more sense. Charles Clements still hasn't been played. He has been picked, but it hasn't been played because we don't have the file. And no more emails from him. Okay. Let's move into this one by Nemesis, I think. The sample is an Argentinian folk song. I discovered this song going through my mother's old CDs. That's cool. Just going through your mom's old CDs and finding something, figuring out, yeah, I could sample this, and then sample it. That's good. Nemesis, the track is called Silk Records. Let's go. Well, sorry I left the mic on, but I don't think it... Yeah. You know what? This track, I played it for 2.5 minutes because I just wanted something else to happen, and it didn't. This is not a bad production. This is not a bad beat by any means, but it needs something more. I have a hard time figuring out exactly what. Please help me out in the chat room. What does this one need? Sometimes we talk about all the different things in the world. We talk about music having personality, having an identity, or Something like that. And that's what this one feels, unfortunately, like it's lacking. And sorry, I got this all wrong. The name of the producer is Silk Records and the name of the track is Nemesis, not the other way around. My bad. This is good stuff. But it feels kind of plain. It's like, you know, a cheese sandwich. We need a tomato, mayo, butter, coriander. I don't know. We need something more. Coriander on a cheese sandwich. I don't know about that, but you know what I'm saying. Made so well, and Charles saying it needs a top melody. The top melody sounds out of place and random. Maybe that's something. Grilled cheese. No, I'm talking about a Swedish sandwich, like a piece of bread, butter, cheese. Not grilled. Cilantro, coriander, whatever. I mean, that little arpeggio kind of figure also works, but everything is so low and so dull and so filtered. I keep coming back to that. Maybe it's me just wanting things to be bright and shiny, and it's not always the right thing to do. But in this case, it feels like it lacks personality and character because it's all down there. We need something that's up there. And it's something with the lower energy of this too. I mean, the musical values, all the notes and everything could be increased 5 BPM and then put a hi-hat and do like a more kind of rhythmical, energetic thing. Maybe not the right move, but in this case, something needs to stick out. Something needs to be a little bit more. Arbus is obviously from Sweden. Lingongrova, polarbröd. Nah, I don't know. I haven't had bread for almost 5 months now, so I don't know. I'm just saying things. This feels like a nice and solid kind of foundation for something, but we need something on top of it. Vocal samples, a higher pitched piano, some Rhodes samples, maybe some other synth, but just that it comes through. Just need something more that's a little bit more interesting. You know? That's what I'm saying. From Silk Records. This is good stuff. Everything is in the right place and everything is good, but it needs a little bit of spice. That's all. So let's take a track from Huber. Hey Accurate, I hope it's not too late to apply toward today's show. Here's a jazzy boom bap beat I made recently. Hope you like the moody vibe. And once again, thanks for putting on such a great show. Huber, thank you, man. Is this a great show? I think it's a good kind of hangout. That's what I think it is. I appreciate you for saying so. Huber, the track is called Full Moon. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, being this old school kind of boom bap head, trying to do different stuff also, but drums like this is just a chef's kiss. Just great stuff. And when you have drums like that and like a saxophone kind of thing like this, you don't need to say much more. Someone like me is just going to be, yep, that's good stuff. That's good stuff right there. Let's see. I mean, for someone to rap to me it feels like a perfect rap beat, or maybe scratch on something like this is really cool. It sounds so good. Sounds so cool. My only point of criticism here is that this whole wah, 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 becomes repetitive. In this genre, it's okay to be repetitive because you probably need like a rapper on top of this that takes up a lot of space and like puts your attention to the rapper instead of just the instrumental. So listen to it like this is maybe not fair, but the whole wah, wah becomes repetitive. And a filter. I mean, okay, we have a super chat from Made So Well saying, great show, coffee contribution. Or coffee. I'm going to read that as coffee. Drums can't go more boom bap. No, they can't. And I just have a hard time myself. If I'm making stuff like this, it feels like if I'm putting it on an EP or an album or whatever, how could I follow up those drums on the next track without using the same samples, you know? Nate G has this theory about the arrangement. Let's try to follow up on this. I feel like it switched to that second sample too many times, maybe. Maybe that's the thing. I just want to be left hanging somewhere instead of something like that could, something simple like that could actually work. Just to give your ear a little bit of variation because it feels kind of repetitive. The vibe is there, the drums, the bass line, the sample, the piano thing, beautiful. But it becomes a little bit monotone. That's a thing. That's like a break of from the loop. But to me, it's not enough. I want something else to pay attention to. Perhaps it's for a beat marketplace. I remember seeing somewhere people selling beats for others to put their own lyrics on top of. Yeah, that's a thing. People are selling beats left and right. And if this is for something like that and someone can just buy the beat and rap on it and make it, sure, that's one thing. I'm judging it as an instrumental right now, and to me it feels like there's a lot of potential in all the elements in there. Just needs to be switched up in a few places to be more interesting and fun to listen to. But yeah, that's the submission from Huber. Thanks a lot. Stylistically, this is fantastic. So in love with it. Now it's 10:30 my time, and we are gonna cut it right here. So I'm gonna give you guys an opportunity in the chat room. If you feel like you have submitted and you haven't been played, and you're really disappointed by that, I can see how that's actually a fact. I'm not mad about that at all. I understand that completely. But if you're still here in the chat room and you feel like that, I'm gonna allow a few more to be played. If not, we're gonna cut it right here. But if you're in the chat and you have opinions, please let me know. Huber says, I'll try to make this beat less repetitive. Cool. And that's you replying to my comment. I'm talking like 5 minutes and you just, yeah, I'm gonna try. And that's cool. Sorry for being that fucking long-winded about stuff. Nate G says, I don't usually submit, but it's all good either way. Well, I don't know if that's gonna fly. I've seen you here a lot, Nate G, and you're always typing it out. You're always contributing. You know, English is not my first language, so cut me some slack. Nate G. In the email, he says, hey, Accurate. Thanks for playing this WIP. I appreciate your stream a lot. I didn't have a plan whether it should have vocals or not. Also not sure about the 2 key modulations. Maybe I could set them up better. I was fiddling with the hi-hats a lot, so not sure about the groove either. Running theme, I'm not too sure. Well, that sounds interesting to me. 100%. You played one of my tracks maybe 2 months ago. Yeah, and you've been here helping us out, typing away, being helpful. Of course we're going to play you. Of course. Nigel says, if you can't get to mine, I understand and it's cool. Why are you guys so understanding sometimes? Huh? Love you guys. But Nate G is going to be played. 100%. And I'm open to do a few more. 1 or maybe 2 more. But Nate G doesn't always submit and is always here being helpful, so of course he's going to be played. Thai Beat says, I sent a trap beat if you want some high energy beat. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking if you submitted something and you really want it to be played, you haven't been played for a while maybe, you're disappointed, let me know. I'm happy as well if mine gets played another day. Yeah, that's not what we're doing. I'm not creating this back catalog. So the stuff that has been submitted today and hasn't been played is not going to be played next show. Now, what's the new way to get played? There's no new way to get played. Submit and just hang out and help out and whatever. I want to hear James. James, have you submitted? RA sharpness is good either way. Okay, thanks for understanding. Play mine next then. Sure. Nigel. First of all, we were on Nate G. Not sure about the 2 key modulations, and I was messing around with the hi-hats a lot, so not sure about the groove. Let's just have a listen to Nate G. Let's go. It's a little bit loud.
backyard recently. It's not supposed to be anywhere near Pennsylvania this time of year. It's called a vagrant.
A what?
Vagrant. It's a bird that's strayed outside its normal range, strayed so far that it's forgotten how to find its way home. Most of them don't survive.
Most depressing human.
What I'm saying, Robbie, is you could still go home.
Yeah, that one deserved to be played for sure. Nate G showing up with random November hip hop. Great stuff. Great stuff. So many great qualities in this one. I mean, production-wise, it feels like you know what you're doing. It's a boom-bappy, kind of hard, knocking kind of beat, but it's still switched up with all these ba-dum-dum, really beautiful chords in a cool progression, and I think it works really well together. I mean, this switch up right here.
Summer tanager showed up in my backyard recently. It's not supposed to be anywhere.
Pitching things around like that is really effective, becoming like this entire B section that really makes sense with the A section. I would have tried to lower the pitch on the snare drum 1 or 2 semitones to get rid of that bounce ball kind of effect. And the wobbliness on the bass line is a cool kind of trick, but I think you might have overdone it a little bit. Just a little bit. And sure, throwing in some vocal spoken word kind of samples in there is effective, and it doesn't hurt. And you know, this is where it becomes problematic to be a producer myself, because I can almost see a DAW in front of me with the piano chords and stuff going on, and a little part of me kind of wants a solo, 8 bars with just a pure melody going, whatever. Because it's so jazzy. It's so inspiring to just wanting to do more. You don't have to. This is good as it is. This is great as it is. I'm just clarinet solo. Yeah, maybe. Maybe so. I I'll throw the vocal in like 10 minutes before the stream. Yeah, and it still flies. It still works. And I think the hi-hat, the groove of the hi-hat is fine. Don't even think about it. It's cool. What's all the talk about clarinet? Do you play the clarinet? Why am I saying clarinet? It's called clarinet, right? A bluesy, smoky female singer. Yeah, that would work too. 100%. We said that we had another guy who hadn't been played. And that was Nigel, right? Nate G, thanks a lot for submitting. Where are you? Nigel. Here we go. Oh, okay, one of those. I want to save it on my computer. I can't. What? No, I don't want to create a shortcut. I want the actual file. As a file on my hard drive. Come on. There we are. Took me a second to understand how computer works. It's not easy. Nigel says, "Hi, Accurate Beats. I know you normally review beats, but I thought I'd be interested in your opinion on my Beethoven style piece that I composed. Have a wonderful evening." What? The last track for today is going to be your Beethoven style piece that you composed? What? That's cool. That's really cool. Let's see here. Merry Christmas, Beethoven by Nigel. I'm curious to see what this is. And this is going to be the last beat. This is going to be the last piece of music for today. It doesn't have drums. No, I understand that. It's a Beethoven kind of inspired composition. That's a whole different kind of thing. And it's going to be interesting. Is it something I'm going to have a lot of knowledge and a lot of, great things to say? But probably not. But let's play this one from Nigel. It's going to be fun. What am I supposed to say about that? What am I supposed to say? I mean, I'm so damaged by this pop cultural kind of thing that I can't help but thinking about some kind of cartoon. I can't remember the name of it. It's kind of like the gummy bears or whatever it's called. And no, it's not them. It's something else. Like there's a good kind of clan and an evil one, and they kind of whatever. Talking about an old 90s cartoon, of course, with, people going to attack someplace else, and the background music is this. But sure, I get the Beethoven kind of reference. I understand what you're talking about. This type of music is something I know absolutely nothing about. Absolutely nothing. But it sounds like a Beethoven kind of inspired piece, I guess. But me being so like damaged by cartoons in the 90s or whatever, I'm just seeing all these kinds of, to me, it's incredibly impressive to be able to put something like this together. Compose something like this. This is how we're going to end this week's episode of the Beat Review. It is. I'm not going to be able to have anything constructive or critical to say about this. It's just really cool. We have all the orchestral kind of percussion sounds. We have the strings. We have the brass. It's just cool. It has ebbs and flows, and it's just interesting. Fun to listen to and interesting, majestic and kind of forceful, and also kind of soft and gentle and kind of hopeful. We're talking about music and beats, but we're talking about art. And when it comes to art and music, this is just some great stuff. Nigel, super impressive. Super impressive. Nigel says, thank you. That's kind of you. It was quite a bit of work to put together. Yeah, I can't even imagine. Like, I guess you're using these like large sample libraries with like orchestral stuff, just working away, just building up layer after layer of harmonics and melodies, and whoosh. Working on a project like that is just above me. I just can't imagine to do it. But yeah. Spitfire Audio, orchestral tools, and Aaron Venture Brass. I mean, Spitfire is making some great stuff if you're looking for this kind of stuff. To me, this is way out of my range, way off my ballpark. But you made this piece of music beautifully. Impressive. So, normally we end off with like a big boom-bappy banger or a super low drunken style lo-fi beat. Today we ended off on this, and that's just what it is. So this has been this week's episode of Beat Review, and I'm doing this every other week for now. I think we're going to do this every single Monday in the future, but I can't make any promises, and I'm working on ideas. I'm going to provide you guys with sounds somehow, making a sample, making a few ones, whatever, submitting that to you guys somewhere where you can download it and make beats out of that sample for an upcoming show sometime. I'm mentioning that without promising any kind of timeline or anything. It's just going to happen. We did this Halloween special a few weeks ago, and that was really cool to have some kind of theme. I also want a Christmas theme, of course, in a few weeks. But I also want to provide you guys with a sample. Just leveling the playing field, making sure that everyone works with the same sample and seeing how that comes out. So that one needs to be saved. Cool. My studio session for tonight is over, and this episode of Beat Review is over. We will be, like I have this massive... I'm going to be back in 2 weeks with another episode, and whenever I decide to go every single week, I'm going to tell you. Whenever I have a sample for you guys, I'm going to tell you. Follow me here, follow me on Instagram, join the Discord. The link should be in the description. The Discord is a cool place for a lot of the people who's submitting and sending stuff in and writing in the chat room, which is awesome. Yeah, the Discord is in there. So join the Discord, join the community of people. Everyone's super nice, super friendly. It's not always super active, but it's a nice place to be. Now my NPC won't shut down. That's not a good thing. Yeah, of course. Pulling the power doesn't help either because it's on battery. You know what? Thanks a lot, guys, for hanging out tonight. Again, I can't thank you enough for all the beats you're submitting. The beats are awesome. Today we didn't have as many bangers as we usually have, but we had more of a slow and steady tempo with a lot of high quality stuff nonetheless. So yeah, do as James Rockwell is telling you in the chat room, join the Discord, and I'm going to try my best to be more active there too. Things will probably happen in the future somehow. I'm not promising anything, but whatever. Thanks a lot for hanging out, and peace out. Peace out. Peace out.